Welcome to another baby theater. Oh. Oh. Today, we're going to be talking about King Arthur. Yeah. King Arthur. King Arthur. Camelot. So, King Arthur was a pretty cool guy. He actually had a sword called Excalibur. And it was pretty cool. It was a pretty nice blade, you know. There's only one way you can get it. You know how King Arthur got his blade? Well, he went deep into the forest, and he found a lake. And there was a shimmering, shiny little glimmer from the bottom of the lake. And suddenly appeared the Lady of the Water. She said, "Ah, King Arthur, you're the chosen one. I will give you the blade of Excalibur. But first, you must pull it from the lake." So he says, well, okay, I guess I can try. He swims down to the bottom, and he grabs this big rock, and he pulls it up to the surface. Barely. He pulled it up and it rolled down. And he pulled it up and he rolled it back down. He pushed it up the hill. It was definitely an Oedipus thing. Next thing you know, he finally got it all the way up out of the lake. And the lady says, "Why'd you bring this rock up here?" And King Arthur's like, "Well, you know, you said if I pull the sword out of the lake, then I get to keep it." And she says, "Well, it's pushed into this rock pretty far." And the Lady of the Water tried to pull it out for a second. She says, "I can't pull it out. What's happening?" "Oh, what's going on? I can't pull it out. This sucks." King Arthur's like, "Well, let me." And he tried to pull it out. He couldn't. He was like, "Ow, I hurt my back." And he kneeled over and he, "Please. The gods need to help me out here." And the gods were like, "What do you want? Why you always summon us? Jeez." And King Arthur was like, "I need this rock blown up in smithereens." And God's like, "Well, what are you going to give us?" And he said, "I will give you the Lady of the Water." And she's like, "What? That's messed up. I don't belong to you. I belong to me." And God said, "Is this true, King Arthur? You're always trying to give us women that aren't yours. Because you don't own any women, because women can't be owned." And he says, "Well, yeah, you're probably right. I'll give you the stone." And they're like, "Yeah, the stone you want us to explode? Come on, King Arthur, you have to have something for us." I don't know. Yeah, right there. Yeah. It's okay. We're good. No? Okay. Maybe you got the burps. Maybe you got the burps, huh? Okay, let's burp it up. Let's burp it up, huh? Hey, we got a burp. We got a burp. We got a burp, 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 baby. So, next thing you know, the gods are like, "Man, you gotta have something for us." And King Arthur's like, "Well, I got something for you, but I don't have it on me." And he says, "How about I give it to you as soon as you give me the sword. And they're like, well, that's kind of risky, especially knowing you, King Arthur. God, you pretty much have nothing we want. And he said, well, it's going to be real good. You're going to miss out. No? Okay. It's okay. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Wax off. Yeah. One more. Okay, great. There you go. So then, King Arthur's like, okay. Hey, we can do it. No? Okay. And King Arthur, he says, I'll make that deal with you. But the gods are like, we really don't trust King Arthur. But he says he's got something pretty big coming to us if we let him have this. Well, might as well. So the gods agree and blow up the stone. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Actually, I'm doing it backwards. Wax on, wax off. He likes that. Wax on, wax off. Yeah? Wax on, wax off. Yeah. 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 So then, they explode the rock. And King Arthur picks up the sword and is like, I now own the sword of the lake. And the lady of the lake's like, actually, it's Excalibur is what it's called. And the gods are like, oh no, Excalibur. And King Arthur's like, what do you mean, oh no, Excalibur? And the gods are like, you could kill gods with that. And he's like, oh really? Then I wouldn't have to pay my debt. So he slices down the gods. Can you believe it? Got him. He took him out. Crazy, huh? So then, he goes back to his castle. And all his people will rejoice. Now he has the Excalibur. And time goes by. It takes about 2 or 3 months before things start looking strange for him, for King Arthur. All of a sudden, his people are getting really angry, but they're usually really happy to have King Arthur. But now they're getting really mad. Well, the next thing you know, the King Arthur's like, I have to figure out what's happening. I don't understand. I have to go to Merlin. Merlin's like, let me check into my crystal ball. And he shakes it up and says, try again later. Try again later. Yeah. And then Merlin's like, shakes it and says no. And King Arthur's like, I didn't ask a question like that. I asked what was going on. Merlin's like, well, let me look into the flames and see what. And in the flames, he sees a pigeon. And he says, King Arthur, the pigeons are attacking the people. They're getting angry. So King Arthur says, well, I can slice anything down with my Excalibur. So I'm going to go out there. But just as it happened to be, the pigeons had just flown south for the winter. It's crazy. But, but King Arthur was like, oh, my people have already taken care of it. Like, they're just on the ball. He didn't know any better. Well, there's only one choice left, So he dressed up in a disguise and went out into the towns. And he would ask people, he says, hey, well, what do you think about King Arthur? And they would just stare at him, dead eyes. Just like that. And he was like, are you okay? And they just completely stare back at him, just like that. Well, he went to each town, and they all did the same thing. Except, outside of town, everybody was fine. They said, well, King Arthur, I've heard he's really cool. And so he went back into town, and had to try to figure out what was happening. And Merlin seemed like he was useless. So he went to his best friend, Lancelot. He said, Lancelot, dude, help me out here. I can't figure out what's going on. All the people seem to be like zombies or something. And Lancelot says, yeah, they are zombies. And King Arthur's like, what do you mean they're zombies? And he's like, well, in 2 days' times, they're going to devolve into creatures of the night, eat everybody. And Arthur's like, well, how do you know this? Why? Why would you? What can we do? And he's like, because I did it. I made the zombies. Can you believe it? That's his best friend, too. And Arthur also says, well, I can destroy anything with my Excalibur. So he cut down Lancelot. And then he went to Merlin. He said, hey, Merlin, what can we do to prevent these zombies from attacking? And Merlin's like, well, let me check my lucky rabbit's foot. And his lucky rabbit's foot said, and that meant that he was lucky. And so, of course, again, Merlin really didn't do much for him. But then he said, well, I'm going to start a crusade and destroy all the zombies. So he went out, and it was kind of a bloodbath. He was able to kill all the zombies, and that way they wouldn't infest the town. And then, as he came back to the castle, he found Lancelot, but he wasn't quite dead. And he goes, King Arthur, I have a deathbed condition. He says, well, why did you buy a deathbed? And he says, I just made that stuff up about zombies because, it seemed like a good thing to say. He took his last breath. And King Arthur looked at his land empty. And he just realized that when he cut the education bill, all the people they were just real dumb. They weren't zombies after all. They were just idiotic. So sad. So he went up to Merlin, and Merlin said, well, let me consult my bomb. And Merlin looked into his bomb, and he lit the fuse, and it exploded the whole castle. Everybody in it. And that was pretty much the end of Camelot. So, that's it. The end.